YouTube, please disable your camera.
Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests, to New Beginnings Toastmasters meeting this evening. I'm Lee Walker, the Sergeant at Arms, and we'll have our first roll, invocation by Zach Phillips.
How's everything going tonight? Good, good. This was cut from my icebreaker speech last week that I did, but I feel like it's good now, especially. And it's a quote from Wallace Wattles. He's like an older, 1912 sort of author, and he writes on gratitude. It is necessary then to cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, to give thanks continuously. And because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. And I mean, here's the thing, it's like a lot of stuff that's gone on in the past couple months. I mean, there's been some bad for sure, there's been a lot of bad, but I mean, think about all the good things that have happened in your life. And I mean, some of the stuff that's happened in my life in the past couple months is I've rearranged my whole entire apartment. I got a new job. I enrolled in this new course, and it's really helping me, find my purpose, my vision, my goals, things like that. I joined Toastmasters, another great one. And I'm meeting with a group of people, other groups of people online, getting, to know that platform a little bit more. And so I just want you to see the good in times of hardship. And if you can't see anything, good in it, ask yourself, well, what lessons can I learn from this? And be thankful that you have a mind that can learn and a mind aware enough to see the lessons. Thank you.
Well, welcome everyone to New Beginnings Toastmasters. My name is David Marshall. I'm acting president today. And I would like to introduce and actually acknowledge our guests. Hopefully, Aria. Am I saying your name? Am I saying your name right? Can we unmute Aria?
Oria, like Oreo, but with
Oria. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's a good reference. So, what brought you to New Beginnings?
Fear of public speaking. Be able to speak without using ums, and just have more confidence, build more confidence when I'm speaking publicly.
Well, you're definitely in the right area, you're in the right club, and you're in the perfect situation because we've all been there, we've all done that, and you are in great company. So thank you for joining us today. We hope that we meet and exceed your expectations. What are you expecting this fine evening?
I'm sorry?
What are you expecting from this meeting today?
This is my very first meeting, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna expect.
Okay.
I'm here, and I'm ready to tackle this fear that I have. So thank you for having me.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great time.
Thanks.
We haven't seen Jennifer in quite some time. Actually, I've seen you. You were on a couple of meetings, a couple of events ago, but I guess you had some video issues. How's everything going for you?
Good. Doing well. Glad
Awesome.
to be back.
Yeah. And you're speaking today. You ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah. I'm your
The answer is
evaluator.
yes,
so
no matter what.
What's that?
The answer is yes, no matter what, right?
All right. Brenda is in the house. You came in, haven't seen you in a while. How's California?
You're on mute, babe. You're unmuted.
Kind of heard you through.
You're
Robert.
on mute.
Oh, she can't unmute?
Brenda, accept the unmute prompt.
There you go.
Good.
You went back to Cali. How's it out there?
It's nice.
Yeah? All right, good. Enjoying yourself?
Come again?
Enjoying yourself so far?
Yeah. Yes, I
All
love
right.
it over there.
Yeah, I learned some surfing and teach
No.
Robert. So. All right. Oh, thank you for joining me as Toastmasters. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster of the evening, Mr. Hans Juhidle. Welcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good evening, Toastmasters, guests. It is my privilege to be your Toastmaster of the evening tonight. Public speaking is a fear that many of us have, and we have learned to overcome it. If you go read the stats, most people would rather be the person in the box than the person standing up there eulogizing the person. So we have a leg up on a lot of individuals out there. Tonight, because of what Zach talked about in his invocation tonight, I chose the theme of the evening to be glass half full or half empty. The choice is yours. And I echo what Zach said about, yes, it is very tragic that what we're going through right now, but we have learned a lot of things. Their families have gotten tighter because you had to. And a lot of other people have found out that we do need each other to get together and work all of this out. You can just look around and you can see there is a tremendous amount of upheaval in society today, and we better get this straight because we're all in this boat together. So for this evening's meeting, the meeting is pretty much based into 4 parts. The first part was the business meeting, or the president welcomes everyone. The next part is the prepared speeches, where we have 4 speakers tonight that will come up and they will talk on various subjects. We will have everybody from Asha, who's doing her first speech, to Andrew, who is he doing his last speech tonight, Robert?
I can answer that myself. This is my final speech.
Okay, so he is basically has his last speech before he is ready to become a distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest award you can get within Toastmasters. And unlike myself, who took almost 15 years to get there, Andrew has done it in a lot less time than that.
3.5 years.
Yes. Part number 3 is evaluation. Everything we do in Toastmasters is either timed or evaluated. I will be, in just a minute, I'll be talking about to the general evaluator who evaluates me as the Toastmaster of the evening. And the last part is kind of like a little fun, which is table topics or job interview questions, where you get a question that comes out of left field and you have to answer it. But I can't do this by myself. So to help me, I have a general evaluator and a team that helps her. So I would like to call up to the lectern the general evaluator, Tammy Adama.
Hello, everyone. So, as Hans so clearly said, I will be the general evaluator. So my job is to evaluate everything from the beginning to the end to make sure the evaluators know what they're doing and to give a brief evaluation on them and introduce my helpers, which I will do now. Our grammarian is Brenda. Brenda, would you like to introduce yourself and explain the role?
Yes, so the grammarian plays an important role in helping all the club members improve their grammar and vocabulary. So I will be jotting down the language and grammar usage of all the speakers, notating incomplete sentences, mispronunciations, grammatical mistakes, etc. For example, 1 in 5 children wear glasses. It should be 1 in 5 children wears glasses. And I'm also the all counter. And the all counter, I will note any words or sounds used as a crush by anyone who speaks during the meeting. Inappropriate words would be such as, well, but, you know.
Good job, Brenda. Thank you. Next up is our word master, and listen up. That would be Lee Walker. You unmuted yet, Lee?
Lee, do you see the prompt?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my, there. Okay, word master. I've picked the word exhortation. It's an address or communication emphatically urging someone to do something and using it in a sentence. A stern exhortation to drop it usually gets my dog's attention. And I can put the word exhortation in the chat for the spelling and to help you out. Madam General Evaluator, or I'm sorry, I'm also the listen up. The Toastmasters, we communicate through our speeches and evaluations, but we also want to be a good listener. So I'll be listening to the speeches tonight, coming up with some interesting information and give some questions at the end of the meeting. Madam General Evaluator.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lee. And our wonderful Jorny, she will be our timer tonight. Jorny, can you explain your role to everyone?
Hi. So a timer is very important because when you're speaking, you don't want to speak for too long. People get bored and they stop listening and you're over your time. Or you don't want to speak too less because you didn't say enough words. That usually happens to me a lot. So I'm here to help everybody get through their times. So that means if I hold up a green, it means that you're good to go. You're past that first mark. We're going to use blue for our yellow. And then we're going to have red for when it's about time to stop, which means you have about 30 seconds to kind of complete the whole speech. I'll be doing that for the speakers and as well as the evaluators, as well as what's the other one?
Table topics.
Table topics. So these will be, and make sure you also pin my videos as the speaker or the evaluator or the table topics so you can see me holding up these little markers that I have.
Thank you, Jorny. Excellent job. For topic master, we have Josh Porto. Josh.
Josh might still be with. Okay.
Hello, guys.
Hey there.
I am the fun part of the night. where I have questions and I will ask y'all, and y'all will give me an answer based on the question I have. I have some interesting questions tonight, so just get ready for a good night.
Awesome. We can't wait. Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. We could not do this without our helpers. They're very important. And now I will turn this back over to our Mr. Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Are we ready? I have one thing to correct from my introduction, which is basically that we're going to do table topics coming out of the break at the top of the hour. Well, we are now ready to start our prepared speeches. Our first speaker of the evening is Aja Zar. She's speaking from Pathways, Motivational Strategies. Her very first speech, the icebreaker, which is 4 to 6 minutes long. The title of her speech is Flight Paths. Ajazar, who has virtually traveled from Pennsylvania via England and California to be with you, is going to talk about flight paths and share with you her unique experiences as regards love bugs in an airborne world. Please help me welcome Ajazar.
Thank you. As have we all, I have changed over the years to become whom I am today. And you may ask, in what ways? In this fashion and by this impetus, I love bugs. This is a far cry from whom I was as a child when I sobbed hysterically because a little tiny gnat landed in my milk, my very clear, beautiful milk at a picnic, and I sobbed hysterically for hours without end and would not drink the milk even when the insignificant little bug was removed. Or the grown woman who called her mother from 3,000 miles away in West Philadelphia to Sonoma County, California, because beneath a light fixture, hundreds of little red spiders emerged in the summer heat. And I got on the phone that time and I asked, after leaving my room, "Mom, am I going to die?" I was completely serious. I didn't go back into my room for a few hours. So, what did I pray for in those days? Because like all of us, I pray. And some of you here and many people pray for different things, such as love, happiness, money, security, contentment, even self and God realization. I prayed for protection. When I was a little girl, I prayed for protection from the creature from the Black Lagoon. Those days, when I was truly afraid of bugs, I prayed for protection from anything that looked like a crawling tiny mote of dust or larger. And yet, I have been fortunate in ways that you might find to be vile, because today I can go up to wasps and stand near them, bend over them, and take photos of cicada wasps about 2 inches long and carpenter bees, which buzz a lot and tend to congregate in groups on butterfly bushes and other flowers. So, how did this happen? How did I come to love bugs? And believe me, I've been bitten by bugs. I've been stung by bees, and I've had a chunk of flesh torn from me next to a horsefly. And yet, I do love them. So this transformation came about in the manner of a fairy tale, a small miracle, if you will. And it involved a beanstalk. Not a well-watered beanstalk, but my beanstalk. I planted, let's say, 7 seeds, and each stalk grew, let's say, 7 beans, which is not exactly true. But one day I went to look at a stalk and I saw the sad little beans, but below it, something more important captured my attention. There were bulbous, tiny green eyes staring at me. And these eyes belonged to a spider. For some reason, the spider didn't scare me. It was very still. It didn't run away, even though in my mind, I exhorted it to. No, it just stared like a wise sage, and rather enchanted and perplexed, I stared back. I'm used to these things running away from me and I from them, but this was completely different and almost enchanting. And I saw that even though my enormous pupils didn't scare it, that it had a curiosity about me, and I saw the world in which it lived, and that it was important. And something about that soul prevented me from emitting my blood-curdling spider scream. And while looking at it, my heart was transformed and it opened. Flash forward a few years, and not that many years ago, I returned to university to learn about even smaller things in material. I had a professor who worked with mosquitoes, and being rather odd, I could not resist learning about mosquitoes, working with nanomaterials to alter their physiology, their body, their ability to transmit diseases. And so I worked with him in the environmental lab. You might be asking, well, how big is a nanomaterial? How big is a nanometer? So I'll give you an example. Any hair on your head, if you have hair, or if you once had hair, is roughly the width of 80 to 100,000 nanometers. Keep in mind, COVID is 70 to 90 nanometers in width. So we're talking something minute. But I fell in love with mosquitoes. That was the very strange part. I fell in love with the minuteness of their physiology. I fell in love with their anatomy. And around this time, a bizarre experience happened wherein, while dreaming, I found myself learning photography. I didn't realize it had anything to do with the minute, that I needed to see more clearly, but it did. And I couldn't understand why I was getting these lessons because I had no interest at all in this art form. Zero, none at all. I like looking at other people's photos. And I'm just going to give a shout out to Tammy Attima here, who is an amazing professional photographer. But me in this class, I take transplant meds. My hands shake. I take steroids. It made absolutely no sense at all. And yet it became a way for me to take images of beautiful flying creatures, to develop relationships, to enter into a community of carpenter bees on campus, and to watch their flight paths, know what they loved, how to stay out of their way, and to become immersed in their lives. And it all became a beautiful way for me to pay homage to that first spider who opened my heart and transformed my life. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Asha. Now, this is her first speech. So everybody, thank you very much. Madam Timer, can I have 1 minute for evaluations, please? And Andrew, how do we do
Go ahead.
feedback here?
1 minute.
In order to send feedback to Asha, if you either right click on her video or click on the ellipsis next to her video, you can select chat and you can send her feedback on her speech.
Thank you very much.
Oh, time's up.
Thank you. Speaker number 2 is Zachary Phillips, and he is giving a speech from Pathways, and his length of a speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Now, unless you are like Zach or of a certain age, he's going to be talking about something that has, for the young people here, probably will not mean a lot. Who here knows what LP is? Exactly. Long play vinyl records. And the speech title is From Hoarder to Helper, Hobbies, LPs, and I. Please help me welcome Zach Phillips to the lectern.
All right, thank you, Toastmaster Hans, and welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Zach Phillips, and I am a recovering vinylholic. Now, what exactly does that mean? Did I make up that word? I made up that word, but for me it means, for years I would buy records in a way that most people these days are buying toilet paper, stocking up on it and thinking, well, someday I will eventually use this. Now, it's not a direct analogy, but in truth, I have over 2,000 records, and I haven't even listened to half of them. Okay, so who knows what this is? Who even knows what this is? Especially if you're under 30 years old, who can tell me not what album or what artist, but what I'm holding up?
What's the record? We can't see it.
Oh, oh, here we go. Yeah. What am I holding up? It's not really about the artist or the album.
It's a piece of cardboard.
Yeah, no. It is. I mean, inside it is a long playing record. Anyhow, now I'm not going to lecture you about how I'm. Sorry. I'm holding up one of the oldest ways to listen to music, or I was, and in my opinion, one of the best. Now, I'm not going to lecture about how I'm right about this or how you're wrong about this, but I'm going to talk about how I got into the hobby that became a habit, which turned into a hoard, which I hope to turn into a help. Years ago, I got into it. You know, I grew up with like an older father. He's 74 now, so he was buying a lot of records, you know, ways to listen to music in the 60s and the 70s. And, you know, I was born in the early 80s, and a lot of his music collection was, you know, I listened to a lot of it, and I grew up listening to a lot of it. And eventually I graduated high school, went to college, and even though I didn't have a record player, I was just buying records. You know, it's crazy. I mean, it's a cheap hobby, especially now, or you know, now, it was back then, but especially, you know, you can buy $1 to $2 records. Yeah, so I would eventually I did get a record player. Eventually I did graduate college, and then after that, I met up with a friend of mine, and he he's really into records too. And but we would go all around Columbus, Ohio area, and even all around Ohio, and we would purchase stacks of records. And since he purchased the more expensive, rarer records, we would always listen to his, and not necessarily listen to mine. I mean, we would occasionally listen to my records, but mostly we would listen to his. And so I would go home and not really listen to many of my records either, or when I was at home. But yeah, I mean that sort of process went on for years and years, wash, rinse, repeat. And so the big thing is that now I have this big, huge collection of records, and even though I've moved from out of Ohio, I was still continuing to purchase records, and I just wasn't listening to them. I mean, I listened to them on occasion, not a lot. And then I moved here, and I finally got all of my records from different storage units and things around the country, well, around the East Coast, area, and I got them all in one room. I still wasn't listening to them. So I bought this. You can't see it, but it's like a library bookshelf, and I put on top my record player and everything, and I decided that I was going to turn that board, that something I wasn't using at all, into a new hobby. Based on the fact that I plan on starting a YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel is to review records, and like I'll talk about the records, and down in the description there'll be like a link, like if you want to purchase it on Amazon, use my affiliate link. But I mean, the thing about it is it's a hobby that allows me to listen to more records, which is what I bought them in the first place to do. And it also, it's helping someone else, and by informing their purchase. So I mean, it's a win-win scenario, which is a great thing to have for a hobby. But yeah, and it's important to have hobbies. It's important to have hobbies, but it's not, for me, in my opinion, it's not a true hobby unless you're doing something with it. You have to use the tools, in order to make something. So, the tools for me are records, and I'm making this YouTube channel to help me along with the hobby. And sure, not all hobbies should be a way to earn money or monetize, but it does. Sorry. But not only does each record say something about my taste in music, but the fact that I am moving from hoarding to helping speaks to the new phase of my life. Like, I mean, yeah, the new phase of my life that I will achieve through time and finding my voice, which comes from my purpose, which is to inspire, inform, and entertain people, and to get them to share in the joy I have for this great art, which is music, which is ultimately my love of vinyl, which is my hobby. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. That's been very informative, Zach. Madam Timer, can I have 1 minute for evaluation, please?
Go ahead. Yep, 1 minute starts now. And it stopped.
Thank you very much. It is amazing what you can learn at Toastmasters. From bugs to long play albums to our next speaker, Jennifer Newman. She is speaking from the Pathway Strategic Relationships, Level 1, Researching and Presenting, 5 to 7 minutes. Her speech title is, "You're Not Going to Believe What I'm About to Tell You." Research project based on the backfire effect in studies by psychologists and neuroscientists. Now, this sounds interesting. Please help me welcome to the lectern, Jennifer Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. Yes, so you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you, but I'll tell you anyway for tonight's speech. So, have you ever had an experience in your life where you've heard a statement so outrageous that it just made your blood boil and you wanted to strangle the person, either in person or through the internet, through a statement that you've read? Well, what do you think? Could learning the facts of a matter, just the facts alone, help to bolster or change people's opinions? Well, consider this. We'll talk about the backfire effect. So what is the backfire effect? Well, in 2006, an experiment was performed, and 2 researchers created a fake newspaper, and they posted polarizing articles about political issues. And the articles were written in a way that would confirm a widespread misconception about certain ideas in American politics. As soon as a person read a fake article, this is part of the experiment, the researchers then handed over a true article which corrected the first. So for instance, one article was about how the United States found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Well, the next article said that the US never found them, and that was the true article. So how did people respond to this? Well, those who were opposed to the war or who had strong liberal feelings or leanings tended to disagree with the original article and accept the second. And those who supported the war and leaned towards more conservative camp tended to agree with the first article and strongly disagree with the second article. So that part is not surprising, right? Everyone kind of leans towards whatever you agree with, and whatever you read, you're probably going to agree with it. However, the surprising part is that even after the correct articles were pointed out, people who were conservative were even more conservative than before, and people who opposed the war were even more on that side of the argument than before. So they experimented with many other wedge issues that cause people emotional effects after reading them, and tried to then give corrections to contradict their ideologies. And each time after they gave the true article, people doubled down in their beliefs and the corrections backfired. So that is what they then discovered to be the backfire effect. So I hate how I say so all the time. I'm working on that. But the question is, why do we so easily soften to some ideas but not allow others? Why do we act so opposed within ourselves when we're presented with beliefs that counter our beliefs? The study revealed that it has to do with the part of the brain that responds to physical emotions, and they are physical threats, and those physical threats are responded to in the amygdala. So that part of the brain is the emotional core, but it responded as though the people were actually having a physical threat. So people's thoughts are so tied to their emotions and how they believe are so tied to their thoughts, it was as if they were being physically attacked themselves. What was the result of this study, and how can we in the future do better as people now that we know some of the things that can happen when you read something that you totally disagree with, and you perhaps just close your mind to any other facts that you encounter that are counteractive to what you originally believed? What can we do? What did the researchers find? Well, the sad fact is that there was nothing they found that could really counteract how people felt. Facts don't work, and sometimes people are very staunch in how they feel. But what we all can do individually is to recognize that those effects take place. The backfire effect can happen to us. So perhaps when someone gives you an idea and all of a sudden your blood is boiling and you want to get really upset, take a step back and remember that this is all physical reactions going on, and just think, how can I respond to that? So we have to try to separate our emotional cortex from our logical one. And that is just one way we can all try to get together and interact better in the world today. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's as I said before, it's amazing what you can learn at Toastmasters. Madam Timer, can I please have 1 minute for evaluation?
1 minute starts now.
If you are Bremda or myself or anybody else who is participating in this next speech, you can unmute yourselves at this time.
One minute is up.
Thank you very much. Our fourth and final speaker this evening is Andrew Bullock, who with this interpretive reading, the play, 12 to 15 minutes long, which is the last act of 12 Angry Jurors, an awesome play. And we will be putting this on for you. And I'll turn it over. Please welcome to the lectern, Andrew Bullock.
Good evening. We live in a world where people are often convicted of crimes without due process. You are about to observe one such case. There was evidence presented, and a man was almost going to be sent away to the death penalty without anyone really standing up for him. So we pick up here in the jury's chamber after where it started with only one person having reasonable doubt. Now 9 jurors have reasonable doubt. So without further ado, this is taken from the play and the movie 12 Angry Men. Juror number 8.
David, I believe you're muted.
Very hard to keep personal prejudice out of a thing like this. And no matter where you run into it, prejudice obscures the truth. Well, I don't think any real damage has been done here because I don't really know what the truth is. No one will ever, I suppose. 9 of us now seem to feel that the defendant is innocent, but we're just gambling on probabilities. We may be wrong. We may be trying to return a guilty man to the community. No one really knows. But we have a reasonable doubt, and this is the safeguard which has enormous value in our system. No jury can declare a man guilty unless it's sure. We 9 can't understand how you 3 are still so sure. Maybe you can tell us.
I'll try. I've made some excellent points. The last one in which you proved that the boy couldn't have made the kind of overhand stab that killed his father was very persuasive, but I still believe the boy is guilty of murder. I have 2 reasons. 1, the evidence given by the woman across the street who actually saw the murder committed.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the most important testimony in the whole case.
And 2, the fact that this woman described by the stabbing by saying she saw the boy raise his arm over his head and plunge the knife into the father's chest. She saw him do it the wrong way.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Now let's talk about this woman for a minute. She said that she went to bed at about 11 o'clock that night. Her bed was next to the window. She could look while laying down and see directly into the boy's window across the street. She tossed and turned for over an hour, unable to fall asleep. Finally, she turned toward the window at about 10 minutes after 12. And as she looked out, she saw the killing through the windows. A passing L train. She says that the lights went out immediately after the killing, but she got a good look at the boy in the act of stabbing his father. As far as I can see, this is unshakable testimony.
That's what I mean. That's the whole case.
What do you think? What about you?
Well, I don't know. There's so much evidence to sift. This is a pretty complicated business.
Frankly, I don't see how we can vote for acquittal.
Well, it's not easy to arrange the evidence in order.
You can throw out all the other evidence. The woman saw him do it. What else do you want?
Well, maybe.
Let's vote on it. Oh crap!
I'm changing my vote. I think he's guilty.
Anybody else? The vote is 8-4.
What makes you consider this one vote a personal triumph?
I'm the competitive type. Okay, now here's what I think. I think we're a hung jury. Let's take it inside to the judge.
You didn't want a hung jury before?
Well, I want it now.
I don't understand that. You thought it was immoral to.
I don't anymore. There are people in here who are so bloody stubborn that you can't even. We'll never get this thing done. We'll never be here. We'll be here for a week. Well, I want to hear an argument. I say we're a hung jury. Come on. You're the leader of the cause. What about it?
Let's go over it again.
We went over it again. J. Walter Thompson up there is bouncing backwards and forwards like a tennis ball.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You have no right to.
I apologize on my knees. Come on. Let's get out from under this thing.
All right, maybe we can talk about it, setting some kind of a time limit. The time is
6:15.
6:15. Someone before mentioned 7 o'clock. I think that's a point at which we might begin to discuss the question of whether or not we're a hung jury or not.
Don't you feel well?
I feel perfectly well. Thank you. I was saying that 7 o'clock would be a reasonable time to.
The reason I asked about that was because you were rubbing your nose. I'm sorry for interrupting, but you made a gesture that reminded me.
I'm trying to settle something here. Do you mind?
I think this is important.
Very well.
Thank you. I'm sure you'll pardon me for this, but I was wondering why you were rubbing your nose like that.
Oh, come on now. Will you please?
Right now, I happen to be talking to this gentleman here, okay? Now, were you rubbing your nose, sir?
Well, if it's any of your business, I was rubbing it because it bothers me a little.
I'm sorry. It is because of your eyeglasses?
It is. Now, would we get onto something else?
Your eyeglasses make these deep impressions in the sides of your nose. I hadn't noticed that before. They must be very annoying.
They are very annoying.
I wouldn't know about that. I've never worn eyeglasses, except for the ones I have right now. 2020.
Listen, will you come on with the optometrist bit?
The woman who testified that she saw the killing had these same deep marks on the sides of her nose. Please, just a minute and then I'll be finished. I don't know if anyone else noticed that about her. I didn't think about it then, but it's been going over my mind, over her face. It's been going over and over in my mind ever since. She had those marks. She kept rubbing them in court.
He's right. She did do that a lot.
This woman was about 45 years old. She was making tremendous effort to look 35 for her first public appearance. Heavy makeup, dyed hair, brand new clothes that should have been worn by a younger woman, but no eyeglasses. See if you can get a mental picture of her.
What do you mean, no glasses? You don't know if she wore glasses just because she was rubbing her nose.
She had those marks. I saw him.
So what? What do you think that means? Well, what point are you making here?
Yeah, those marks.
She had dyed hair and marks on her nose. I'm asking you, what does that mean?
Could those marks be made by anything other than eyeglasses?
No, they couldn't.
Listen, what are you saying here? I didn't see any marks.
I did. Strange, but I didn't think about it before.
Well, what about the lawyer? Why didn't he say anything?
There are 12 people in here concentrating on this case. 11 of us didn't think of it either.
Okay, Clarence Darrow. Then what about the district attorney? You think he'd try to pull a trick like that and have her testify without glasses?
You ever see a woman who had to wear glasses and didn't want to because she thinks they spoil her looks?
My wife. Listen, I'm telling you, as soon as we walk out of the house.
Maybe the district attorney didn't know either.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Okay. She had marks on her nose. I'm giving you this. From glasses, right? She never wore them out of the house so people think she was gorgeous. But when she saw this kid kill his father, she was in the house alone. That's all.
Do you wear glasses when you go to bed?
Oh, I don't.
It's logical.
Eyeglasses to bed.
Yeah, it's logical to say that she wasn't wearing them while she was in bed, tossing and turning, trying to fall asleep.
How do you know that?
I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm also guessing that she probably didn't put on her glasses when she turned and looked casually out the window. And she herself said that the murder took place just as she looked out and the lights went off a split second later. She could have had time to put glasses on then.
Wait a second.
And here's another guess. Maybe she honestly thought she saw the boy kill his father. I say that she saw only a blur.
How do you know what she saw? How does he know all these things?
You don't know what kind of glasses.
That's my line.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of glasses she wore. Maybe she's farsighted. Maybe they were sunglasses. What do you know about it?
I only know that the woman's eyesight is in question now.
She had to identify a person 60 feet away in the dark without glasses.
You can't send someone off to die on evidence like that.
Don't give me that.
Don't you think that the woman might have made a mistake?
No!
It's not possible?
No, it's not possible.
Is it possible?
Yes, I say not guilty.
Do you think he's guilty?
Yes, I think he's guilty, but I couldn't care less. You smart bastards, do whatever you want to do.
How do you vote?
Not guilty. Do whatever you want.
You're the worst son of a... I think he's guilty.
Does anyone else think he's guilty?
No, I'm convinced.
What's the matter with you?
I now have reasonable doubt.
11-1.
Well, what about all the other evidence? What about all that stuff? The knife, the whole business.
You said we could throw out all the other evidence.
You're alone.
I don't care whether I'm alone or not. That's my right.
It's your right.
Well, what do you want? I say he's guilty.
We want your arguments.
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We want to hear them again. We have as much time as it takes.
Everything. Every single thing that came out of that courtroom, but I mean everything, says he's guilty. Do you think I'm an idiot or something? A lousy bunch of bleeding hearts? They're not gonna intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion. I can sit in this bloody room for a year. Somebody say something! Why don't you take that stuff about the old man who lived there and heard everything? Or take the knife, what? Just because he found one like it? The old man saw him. Right there, on the stairs. What's the difference how many seconds it took? What's the difference? Every single thing. The knife falling through a hole in his pocket. You can't prove that he didn't get to the door. Sure, you can hobble around the room all you want, but you can't prove it. I'm telling you, every single thing that went on has been twisted and turned in here. That business with the glasses, how do you know she didn't have them on? Now, the woman testified in court. Well, what do you want? That's it. That's the whole case. That's the whole thing about hearing the boy yell. The phrase was, "I'm gonna kill you." That's what he said. To his own father. I don't care what kind of a man that was. It was his father. That God, rotten kid. I know him. What they're like. What they do to you. How they kill you every day. My God, don't you see? How come I'm the only one who sees? Jeez, I feel that knife going in.
Not your boy. He's somebody else.
Let him live.
Not guilty.
Ready.
And scene.
Toastmaster.
Thank you to everyone who participated in this exercise of interpretive reading, which is one of the many interesting things that Toastmaster can have you do. Now, with this, Mr. Andrew Bullock has completed all the requirements for the most prestigious award within Toastmasters. He is now, or when the paperwork is done, will be a distinguished Toastmaster. So everybody get up and give him a round of applause. And while we're on it, I did forget at the end of Jennifer Newman's speech, she is finished with level 1, which is also another round of applause. So everybody, again, get up. Thank you. And we'll have one more after we come back from the break. Madam Timer, can I have a timer's report, please?
Timer start now. Ooh. And time.
Thank you very much. Can I have a timer's report for our speeches, please?
Yes. So everybody almost did a great job. So first with speaker Asha, your speech was 4 to 6 minutes and you were at perfect timing at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Speaker number 2 was 5 to 7 minutes, which was Zachary, and very close, but did great job at 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Third speaker, which was Jennifer. Congratulations, Jennifer. Your speech was 5 to 7 minutes, and you were right on the money at 5 minutes and 25 seconds. And our last speaker, but not least, is Andrew Bullock. His speech was supposed to be 12 to 15 minutes, and it was 17 minutes. And I blame it on Robert.
Thank you. I knew I wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
Okay. Please vote for your favorite speaker among the top 3. The motley crew of the play did not get to play in this vote, just simply because of Robert. And we're going to take a 5-minute break and be back at 8:11.
happened to your hand?
Yeah, so I was just
Oh,
about to ask that.
I actually,
New beginnings, Toastmasters Club, please come back to order. Moving into the next portion of our meeting, table topics. So let's welcome our table topics master, Josh.
Josh, accept the unmute.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I am your table topic master tonight. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Alrighty. So, first contender tonight is, our contestant, is going to be the one and only Miss Tammy. And your question tonight, Miss Tammy, is what activity or sport are you afraid to try and why?
What activity or sport am I afraid to try? I would say probably bungee jumping, and only because I do not like the idea of my spine being yanked up into the air. I think that would be pretty harsh on the body. Otherwise, I'm really not afraid. I've done zip lining, I've done parachuting and jumping out of planes. Gosh, just about everything there is to do. I've tried every kind of exercise, weightlifting and Zumba, and so I am pretty adventurous. So being afraid of a sport or activity, well, it's not really my thing. But I can see why some people would be afraid. I mean, fear is a huge thing in some people's lives, and it comes in various forms. It can come in just everyday life. So you don't even have to be into a sport or an activity for that to happen, but it's worth the while if you like to take the risk. So thank you very much. Turn it back over to you, Josh.
Thank you, Tammy. That's one thing I want to go do, bungee jumping. I never jumped out of no helicopters and stuff, but it would be very interesting to go bungee jumping. I want to see what my spine would feel like when I get home, though. So, thank you again for being my number one contestant. Let's go on to my number two contestant that I have tonight. I'm going to go with Mr. Lee Walker. Mr. Lee, are you there? So the question for you, Mr. Lee, is why do you think God made us so different from each other?
Mr. Table Talks, man, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Why did God make us different? Well, he originally created everybody in his own image. So we all kind of started out the same in his image. But then, I guess when he saw a couple of human beings together, Adam and Eve, and then others after that, a little while later, because people interacting with each other, they were given free will and able to do things. And some made some good decisions, and some people made some not so good decisions. And I think somewhere in the Bible, I don't remember what book, but there's different kinds of groups of people, different languages, and I think God made some people talk, speaking in tongues or different languages, and they couldn't understand each other. And so that's all kind of part of the differences. And I guess our challenge is, since biblical times, is to just try to communicate as best we can and get along and do the best we can. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Lee. I believe we were all made to teach each other something new. Like how you said, we all have something special in each one of us. And the more that we speak to each other, the more we learn from each other. So I believe that, like how you said, why God created us differently is so that we can teach each other something new. Because if we were the same, everybody would be doing the same thing every day. Now, on to my third. I have Mr. David Marshall. Mr. David Marshall, are you there?
No, I'm not here. No.
Yeah, you are. What talent do you have that no one can take away from you?
Thanks, Josh. That's an interesting question. I think my talent that no one can take away from me is I have an uncanny desire to tinker. I like to fix things. When I grew up, I actually wanted to be a carpenter. Oddly enough, I'm a mechanical engineer working completely opposite of carpentry. But when I grew up, I wanted to be a carpenter. I wanted to work with wood. I wanted to build houses and furniture and things like that. So now that we just bought the new house and I have my own garage, which is my space, and I took over that space and said, this is my space, I get to build projects. And I've already started doing that. Right now I'm restoring an old bookshelf, and I sanded it down and I stained it really nicely. I got to put another coat of polyurethane, and I put in a lighting system. I'm going to hang it in my wet bar. It's going to look awesome. I'll send you photos. So I think my hidden talent is I get to tinker, and now I have a space to do it. Oh, and I got a free miter saw that just needed to be, the electrical system had a loose connection, and the guy said, just take it. And so it just cost me the cost of a new blade. So I'm very happy. Mr. Topics Master.
So we have a Mr. Fixer in the group. If anybody needs anything fixed, we know who to call. He has a garage ready to put anything in there and fix it, hopefully, for us. I'm going to go on to the next one. Thank you, Mr. David. I'm going on to Brenda. I just need to know if you're there.
Yes.
Okay. I'm happy to have you in the group with us tonight. Name 3 things that you wish you were better at.
The 3 things that I was better at. Well, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. 3 things I wish I was a little bit better at. I'm working on each one of these, by the way. The first one is driving over the speed limit of 80. I get really nervous driving next to a 16-wheeler at 80 miles an hour, so I'm definitely working on that. I've gotten a little bit better because today I drove 75 miles an hour. The second thing, I wish I was better at refurbishing either a coffee table or a bookshelf, as David mentioned. A little bit of upholstery work, that would definitely come in handy. And the last thing I wish I was a little bit better at is, slash a little bit more patience, would be sewing. I know how to do the bare minimum. However, I'm not able to sew together a shirt, but it's just because I don't have the patience for it, but I'm working on it. Thank you.
Well, you got me because I don't drive fast. 2, I can't sew. So you might get it better than me faster than I would get there because I I drive really slow too. I drive like 45, 55 sometimes. So you probably go around me, right? And I got one more person tonight. I'm going to go with Miss Cleo. I know you're there.
Hello.
Hello, Cleo. The question for you tonight is, how are you different from other people, or how are you different from other people at the table? What are you different? How are you different when you are sitting at a table with people?
I'm usually the quiet one. That was a great question, by the way. I'm usually the quiet one. I like to assess the situation before I venture and offer my opinion. So I'm pretty introverted at first, but then once I get to know people, I start blabbing and blabbing and blabbing, and you probably want to shut me up after a while. But usually I'm usually pretty quiet at first. For example, at work, it was a long time. I work at the library, the PCC campus, the Joint Use Library. So I work on the city side. So it was a while, like a couple of years before I opened up to people. And most of them thought I was pretty quiet, and then after a while, they're like, "Wow, Cleo, I didn't know you had this personality. I'm pretty silly." Once you get to know me, I'm very, very silly. But at first, I'm pretty quiet. You probably won't see that side of me until like much later. So that's how I'm pretty different from other people at the table. Thank you.
Well, I wish I could connect with you. I'm too talkative. Everybody be like, Josh, shut up sometimes. I'm just born a clown. That's what I was born, and that's what I'm going to stay. And everybody, hopefully y'all will love me forever being a clown, because I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Everybody, thank you for letting me be y'all table topic master tonight. I enjoyed each and every one of my contenders, and I hope that I get that opportunity once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Can I have a timers report from our timer this evening?
Okay, so tonight everybody qualified, which is wonderful. I think it's because Robert had nothing to do with it. But anyway, so Tammy table topics number 1 was Tammy at 1 minute and 18 seconds. The second table topics was Lee, and his time was 1 minute and 23 seconds. And the third one was David, and his was 1 minute and 31 seconds. The fourth is Brenda at 1 minute and 33 seconds. And last but not least is Cleo at 1 minute and 11 seconds, which the overall table topic is supposed to be 1 to 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Please vote for your favorite table topic speaker. It is now time for the evaluation portion of our meeting, and I'd like to turn our meeting over to the general evaluator for the meeting, Tammy Adama.
So our first evaluator evaluating Asha Zar is Elizabeth Clare. Welcome, Elizabeth Clare.
Thank you. Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Do we have any? And especially Asha. Icebreaker. I loved having the opportunity to choose to be your evaluator for the Icebreaker, because that makes me the official welcomer of you into our club on behalf of everyone else. You did a fantastic job. You achieved the goal of the Icebreaker, which is to let us get to know you. And so not only do we know you, but we know you love bugs, and you presented a very, very interesting speech. You excelled at including us with your questions and your asking how we would feel in certain situations. You excelled at surprising us. You excelled at your voice variety. It was really magnificent. And your organization was fantastic. I mean, it went from the beginning to the end, following a very clear path. You made good eye contact, which is so hard for all of us to look at the camera instead of at the other people, which gives us the eye contact instead of looking around at the panel of people. You kept us enthralled. You had good stories. You excelled at entertaining us. Your pauses were really good. It was very well rehearsed. It was well written, well rehearsed. You had excellent humor. For example, when you said, how thick is the hair? Take your hair, or if you once had hair. So it made us laugh. So to challenge you, I would say, since you have taken pictures of bugs, show us the bugs. Or maybe if you have a bug on a pin, show us some visual of the bugs. Draw pictures of bugs and show us. It was really excellent, and thank you. I can't wait to hear what else you have to tell us and teach us. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, for our second evaluator, we have Josh Porto, and he will be evaluating Zachary Phillips. Josh?
Yes, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah. Good job tonight. I believe everybody did a good job tonight. But this is about you, and I want you to know that you brought something that had us thinking, okay, what kind of music is this? What kind of picture are we looking at? What are we figuring out? So you made me keep on thinking, wow, this is really something that probably what I would like to see you bring with that, if you ever had to do that again, is probably a track from that visual that you showed us. Make us hear music. Make us hear something that will make us realize, wow, this is the kind of music that you like. You brought really good topics about how your dad made you start this. This is what your dad gave you. The beginning part of your life was with him, and this is what made you keep going in this journey. So you used, what started you and how you finish with, I'm gonna be, what's the word, Zach? I'm sorry. What was the word called again?
You're talking about Porter?
Is that what it's called? The music that you showed us, the
LP record, vinyl.
The LP record. So yeah, you made us realize what it was. The only thing I ask is when you do this again is to make us hear something from it. The records. Make us hear what the old records are like, because that is something that probably we would like to be interested in. I believe you did a wonderful job, and I know you have a lot to bring for us. The last speech you did was wonderful. So I believe that being with Toastmasters, you got a long journey with us, and you're going to impress us very well. I'm going to say like how Simon says to everybody on American Idol, you have a lot to impress, but you will do it. You have many people that you're going to impress. So I believe in you, Zach, and I believe that you can do all the things that are possible, because in Toastmasters, everybody learns who they are and become the best of the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Next, we have David Marshall, and he will be evaluating Jennifer Newman. Thank you, David.
Hi, Jennifer. As always, I get to witness a Jennifer Newman speech, and she never ceases to amaze me. She's always got a smile on her face, and that's actually one of the things that you excel at, is great eye contact, good speech. You're always smiling. It's clear that you are interested in the subject, and you seem very calm and collected and confident that you know what you're talking about. And that's very important when you're speaking, especially on research and presenting a project. You have good speech structure. So you have the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And again, you smile through the entire presentation. So that definitely brought me in. I'd like for you to work on, though, however, is we couldn't see your hand gestures because the computer is a little close, and then also the top half of the screen is your wall. So I would that's something you should work on in an environment like this. You want to have the camera kind of backed away so that you can use your hand gestures, and that just brings another layer to your speech. Avoid pointing out the speech flaws because you kind of interrupted your speech by saying, I hate saying the so's and this sort of thing. There's no need for that. It's okay. You just keep moving forward. Just accept the so's and the ands and the ums, and over time, those will subside as you keep practicing and practicing and practicing. Those will eventually go away. So that is my challenge for you. Practice, practice, practice. Just keep coming back. Keep participating in table topics. Keep working on your speeches and practice them, and all the so's will diminish over time. Just don't highlight them. You don't want a big old neon sign. It distracts from your speech, which was a very interesting topic. So there's no need to bring that level, bring that attention to it. It'll go away. No one will pay attention to it anyway. And also, you may want to adjust your camera so that we can get your hand gestures and then add to the dimension. So that's my evaluation, and thank you very much, Miss General Evaluator.
Thank you, David. You did a great job. Okay, next up is our evaluator for Andrew Bullock, and that is Cleo. Cleo, thank you very much.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It is my pleasure to evaluate our Toastmaster, Andrew Bullock. He did his interpretive reading for 12 angry jurors, and it was supposed to be from 12 to 15 minutes. Congratulations on completing the legacy programs, distinguished Toastmaster. This was a very interesting presentation. You had great eye contact. This has been a great improvement in comparison to past Zoom meetings. So your eye contact, I think the way you changed your camera angle, I'm not really sure, but it's awesome that you improved in that. You had great vocal variety. There was a lot of great voice acting from your fellow jurors, David Marshall, Hans, Jewel Hidley, Elizabeth Clare, Brenda Paredes, and Robert Riggs. I hope I didn't forget anyone. And you and the other jurors really made me feel the frustration from that play. So great voice acting, great vocal variety. I also loved your interjections throughout the speech. It really made me focus on what you were saying, focus on the play. And I didn't know what the project was when it first started, but the interjections, it gave me a pleasant surprise to hear that. It was great voice acting, great emphasis on the right parts of the play. I also saw you use your hand gestures effectively to emphasize your points. And lastly, you excelled at collaborating with your fellow Toastmasters to complete this project. So you had some really great, you showed really great skill in that manner. What you may want to work on is the Zoom background or green screen effect. Though I saw your hand gestures, the green screen effect was like chopping them off, kind of like how my arms are like chopped off now, probably because they're like past the sides of the view that I'm showing you. So maybe you just work on that, or maybe not have the green screen effect during your speech when you're showing your hand gestures and things like that, because I don't want your hand gestures to get cut off like that. Something to challenge you to do, something to challenge you on would be maybe do more of these collaborations, because I love to take part in something like that. It would be kind of like for Zoom, Toastmasters Zoom Theater Troupe. Maybe do that every now and then. So that's all I have to say. You did a great job. And thank you so much, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Cleo. Okay, now we are going to get a timers report for our evaluators. No, we're not. Okay, Robert.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I am actually going to be evaluating Josh's performance tonight as the table topics master. It's not usual that this happens, but because he's actually performing a project inside of his L2, I'm here to evaluate Josh. It looks like he may have had some technical difficulties, so I'm glad we're recording this so we can make him watch it later. That being said, he did a fantastic job. I have seen a lot of people do very, very, very poorly when it comes to several different things in table topics. Number one, selection. Josh was not poor at all in terms of selecting the right people. He selected individuals who had roles or were speaking, but did the least amount of speaking. You'll notice that Josh did not pick anybody who actually gave a speech tonight. It's usually also not a good protocol to pick the timer, primarily because Jorny hates table topics. In addition to that, he chose individuals that he knew would correlate well with his questions. I liked what he chose, like he picked with Lee, because he knew Lee would want to answer that question. So his choosing was excellent. He chose the right people, and he chose the right questions for those individuals. The next thing I'd like to say is the questions that he came up with were very, very creative. They were challenging, but not too challenging. I think it was the question he gave to David. What is something that nobody could ever take away from you, like some form of hobby? I loved that question. And how he responded to that was a talent that no one can take away from you. That's what it was. I apologize. I loved his choice of questions. Another thing is he gave great comments. This is the part of the active listening for this project. He gave great comments that showed his positive assessments of the responses. He wasn't overbearing and being like, oh, I thought that was really cool, but you could have done this better. That's not the point of active listening. Active listening is to support people up, reassure that you heard what they had to say, that you care about what they have to say. It's not to actually evaluate them. Okay, that's not your job. So he did a really good job listening and not just parroting, but then taking it and saying, I heard what you said, I'm going to take it to this next level. So that was the whole point of the project. Did a great job. He talked about how he was like, my spine could hurt in response to Tammy's, what she said. I would have never thought about that, but that showed that he was listening. And it was what he said to David. That was really funny. It wasn't just that he said, okay, this is a summary of what David did, but he actually then said, okay, that means everybody can go get help from David. Everybody can go to David's garage. And if Jackson's in there, maybe we can get Jackson to go into the bed, and go sleep in the bed. But all in all, like, it was really, really funny how he put it together. I liked the fact that he didn't just summarize. He actually went one step farther. Two things I think he could work on is, number one, and this is hard unless you've been super, 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 super experienced with table topics, you have to come out of the gate storming. You have to warm up the crowd from the get-go. We're going to have a great time tonight because this is table topics, gosh darn it, and we are going to have a good time. And everybody likes to have a good time, right? So you have to have some energy there. I felt it was a little flat at the beginning, so I wanted to hear some more energy at the beginning. Now, once he got warmed up, he was gliding, but I wanted to hear the glide from the get-go. I wanted to hear it right away. I also wanted to see more visual responses or eye contact. I noticed that his screen was completely off. So I'm going to give him a 1 or a 0 for that, because we can't see your eyes or have eye contact if you actually don't have your camera on. That may have been some technical difficulties, but I wanted to see that. I literally gave him an excels or exemplary for every category except for eye contact, which I had to give him a 1. I would have given him a 0 because he really didn't do it at all, but I would want to see more body movement. And then finally, I would want to hear a challenge, a centralized theme for all questions. I love the responses, but I want to hear a centralized theme for all your questions, Josh. And that's all I have to say. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. Now, Jorny, can we get a timers report, please?
Hello, everyone. I will go ahead and give a timers report. Of course, everybody did an excellent job, except for our last evaluator. That was, as we already know, Robert, who likes to take up everybody's time So our first evaluator is Elizabeth, which is at 2 minutes and 7 seconds. So great job. Second evaluator was Josh, which is 2 minutes and, oh wait, am I calling the wrong one? Yeah, no. Our second evaluator was Josh, which is at 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Our third evaluator is David at 2 minutes and 31 seconds. And our fourth evaluator was Cleo at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And if you notice, everybody's under 3 minutes, which is excellent. And then our last evaluator was Robert at 3 minutes and 28 seconds. I think he made it, but he's still over everybody else. I just wanted to specifically point that out. Thank you.
All right. So now we are going to move on to our helpers. So for our grammarian counter, we will hear from Brenda as soon as she's unmuted.
Brenda, are you with us?
Brenda, I think you're still muted.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So I just wanted to go through and say that as far as the owl counter is concerned, I've done a couple of ahs and ums myself. Overall, I could tell that most of the speakers or who participated would constantly say and there would there wouldn't be a punctuation. Just pay attention to that. As far as grammar, everything was good. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Now for our word master, listen up, Lee Walker.
Word master, I don't think anybody used the word tonight, exhortation. I guess I kind of picked a challenging word to fit in for some of our speaking parts tonight. I'll work on that for the next time I do this role.
Lee, I think Asha's letting you know she did.
Okay, thank you. That's one. And now for listen up. Let's see. So what does LP stand for?
Long play.
Long play.
Okay. What hobby did Asha end up talk about in her speech?
Photographing.
Photography.
Doing weird things with bugs.
Loving
What?
bugs.
In Angie's presentation with the play, what item was kind of discussed and the jurors were kind of going back and forth?
It wasn't a knife and it wasn't eyeglasses.
Right. Okay.
Something else?
And then what did Tammy mention in her table topic that she might be afraid of?
Bungee jumping.
Yeah. And what does Cleo consider herself in her table topic?
A very quiet person, which is not true.
Quiet at the beginning.
She's a power nerd.
All right. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lee. Great job. All right. So who do we have left here? Our topics master,
Josh
Joshua.
had to step away.
Stepped away.
He thanked everybody, but he had to go.
Okay. All right. Well, he did a good job too. Everyone here did a good job, and we thank you. And I will hand this meeting back over to Mr. Toast. No, Robert. I'm handing it back over. I guess I'm doing my general evaluation right now. Okay, so we started on time. Everybody arrived on time. I appreciate that. Even there were some people here even early. For instance, Jorny got here before everyone. She was like, let's go. She kept everybody motivated with her welcoming.
Yes.
Our Toastmaster of the evening, Hans, was brilliant. He kept everybody on track. He kept us interested.
Thank you.
Let's see. So for our evaluators, I'm going to give a short, brief evaluation on our evaluators. Our first evaluator, Elizabeth Clare, she led the way with a very organized evaluation using the sandwich technique. She used good examples from Asha's talk. Our evaluator number 2, Josh, he paid attention to Zach's talk with lots of examples. Good suggestions on allowing us to hear a clip. That's a good suggestion. Our evaluator number 3, David, was comfortable evaluating and it comes through. He gave good suggestions for all of us and Jennifer to challenge. Our evaluator number 4, Cleo, she had a very professional sounding evaluation. I was very impressed. So, Robert, you were very specific about what you loved.
No, sir.
And very animated. You always entertain us. You do that. Whether you're evaluating or giving a speech. So good job, everyone. Excellent evaluations. Excellent meeting. I enjoyed myself immensely, and I hope everyone here did. Now I will be turning it over to our Toastmaster of the evening, Hans.
Everyone, thank you. Whoever is left here this evening had a little fall off as the meeting wore on. I will be remiss. We have to get up and give Mr. Walker his very much due for becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. So everybody get up and a round of applause. For all those out there, if you don't know what the amount of effort and time that goes into becoming a distinguished Toastmaster, it's a lot.
Less than 1% of people who start Toastmasters.
It took Andrew 4.5 years. It took me 15. How many years did it take you, Lee?
About 17.
It only took me 3.5 years, not 4.
Oh.
I haven't even been a Toastmaster that long.
So, thank you everyone especially for all those individuals who stepped up during the time when I was trying to fill out the schedule. And with all of that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our acting president, Mr. David Marshall.
Woo!
Wow, there goes another fabulous meeting with New Beginnings Toastmasters. Had a lot of great speeches, a lot of knowledge that we learned today. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. Do we have the voting? Did we do that, Andrew?
I have votes for table topics and speakers, but not many people voted.
Oh, I think we forgot to vote.
Can we call another vote for evaluations?
Yeah.
On, Robert.
Evaluation.
I didn't put my votes in. I want to put my vote in.
Just send them directly to me in a private message and I will tally them up.
All right.
Okay, so now for this portion of our meeting, I shall kill time so that we
I would like to make an announcement if that's okay.
No, it's not okay yet.
Okay.
Johnny says you can't, so.
Okay.
What's up?
So basically, I just wanted to remind officers, thank you very much for responding to the email that I sent out about, we're going to have a virtual training. It's going to be, I believe, the 18th, the 17th and 18th. It's Friday night from 6 to 9, the 17th and then of July. And then it's going to be the morning from 9 a.m. to 12 noon for Saturday. That's going to also be in July. That's going to be July 18th. So for anybody who's an officer next year, I believe there are 7 of us. You are the 7 who are official officers. You are required to come to the virtual training for the district. I believe it is our only training because COVID and everything like that. The divisions will not have specific spaces that we can go to train. So it's all going to be virtual. If you're one of the 7 officers next year, I've already sent you the email. For anybody who's not an officer or an official officer next year, you are invited to come. We will forward the invitation to you. Anybody can come and check out all the kind of crazy trainings they do. They do a whole variety of trainings during the Summer Leadership Institute or the Winter Leadership Institute. It's not just about how to be a president or how to be a treasurer, but it's also about things like how to give better evaluations, how to be a trainer. You can do train the trainer, how to, like, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do, and it's all being done virtually. So we'll be getting an actual official invitation with a registration form, and you can actually go to specific sessions. We'll be getting that probably next week or two. So when we get that, I will forward it out to everybody. Anybody can go, but only the 7 officers are required to go. So if you have any questions, please feel free to see me. And yes, Cleo.
What platform are they using for this training?
Zoom.
Okay, so there's going to be like a cap or something, or?
They've already.
No, they have an enterprise account, which basically has
okay.
unlimited attendance.
Oh, cool.
To be clear, yes, this is the only training that they're having. Toastmasters has closed down all in-person district events until the end of December. So there will not be any in-person district events this year, with the exception of maybe our award ceremony in September.
Correct, which means that we can still meet as a club, and we can have a small event as a district as an award ceremony, but we can't officially have 300 people in one space. That just looks bad. So that's kind of the idea. But if anybody's any questions, absolutely 100%. Yes, Asha.
How do you feel about people coming from out of town? Once all the restrictions are lifted, are you?
We invite all sorts of people from out of town. Yeah.
All are welcome.
Okay, except from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I'm just kidding.
Well, maybe New Jersey, but we'll accept New York.
Excuse me?
New Jersey.
The only reason why New Jersey even got COVID is because it is New Yorkers.
That's right.
They all landed at Newark Airport.
So I think that the only other event that's coming up is officer installations. 2 weeks from today, if you are an elected officer, we will officially have officer installations. Andrew, I believe, is going to install our officers unless he can find a district officer to do it for us. Is that right, Andrew?
That is correct. I'm trying to pawn it off on somebody.
So if you are an elected officer, that would include myself, David, JP, Jorny, Tammy, Jennifer, or Josh, any one of those 7 people. Please come, because you are required to. There's an oath and everything. So please come.
I remember
come in about 2 weeks. There's an oath. You got to say it and all that kind of good stuff. And we get to officially vote you in as officers. And then I get to give a little, like, 3 to 4 minute speech. I promise I won't go over.
Oh my God! I don't believe it.
You guys are awesome. That's all the officer stuff. I'm going to pass it over to David.
3 to 4 minutes. Expect a half an hour. Plan for a half an hour. Hey, so do we have those voting results? Everybody wins today.
Yes. Everybody's a winner. Everybody's a winner. Hold on 1 second.
Candy.
He's almost done.
Piece of candy.
You send those off to you.
Ooh, piece of candy.
So, by the way, if you are an officer, we are having an officers meeting next week. I talked to JP. He asked that I lead the officers meeting next week, but everybody's invited to come. So if your name is Elizabeth Clare, or Zach Phillips, or Andrew Bullock, or Cleo, or anybody who's officially not like a technical officer but still helping out, Cleo has decided to become the admin of the group, correct, Cleo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Elizabeth is going to be our social chair. She's going to send out birthday cards and all that kind of fun stuff. Zach has decided that.
know when the birthdays are.
Yes, we have to figure out the birthdays and everything.
Okay.
And then Zach is going to help us out wherever he can. He said that he'd be willing to help out as we're the officers. We're looking to get stuff done.
I have something to say.
Yes.
So since summer's coming, I mean, summer is almost here. I think even though we have a virtual, you know, we can still go out.
Oh, what a good
So,
idea.
you know,
Take our laptops out.
I mean, right now there's a curfew, but after the curfew,
So after there's no more riots in Virginia
outside.
Beach and looting.
There's not a curfew.
You could always
Yeah,
go
there
to
is
a
a
park and have a
curfew.
cookout.
There's a
Not
curfew.
Not on backyards.
Not in
Yeah,
the
someone's
backyard,
backyard. Yeah, that's true.
but I mean the curfew is 8 o'clock. So if we did something middle of the day, it wouldn't be too bad.
I didn't say.
We could always go to the park or something, you know, have a little
Not in the
cookout.
middle of the day.
I think Jorney's apartment complex has a really good barbecue pit.
And
Yeah.
did you
I know. I don't mind doing. I don't mind doing an event there. I have a pool and it's really nice and there's a barbecue area. Bring your own food and drinks.
Why don't we have a New Beginnings Toastmasters meeting out in the park?
That's an idea.
That's an idea. So
In my backyard. I don't
Pool
have
party.
My only question about backyards is, does that, you know, for homeowners insurance, is that a burden at all?
No.
Okay.
No, homeowners can have, you know, many people at their house.
Hello.
I would say people could come in through the backyard fence rather than through the house and wear masks if they're going in the house to the bathroom.
I just meant for organizations rather than as private citizens. Or no? It's all the same?
that's an interesting legal question. I'm not sure we could answer.
Right.
Well, if I have a party,
Well, that works.
right.
All right. So David, do we have any
With him.
Yes, we have our speaker winner. Who do y'all think it is? Take a guess.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say Jennifer.
Asha wins.
Yeah, Asha.
Great job.
Thank you.
Well done.
Table topics. I guess it's me. Yeah.
You won by one vote.
Like what?
One vote.
It wasn't me. And it wasn't
You
me.
voted for yourself.
You didn't even vote for yourself. That's crazy.
I did it. And evaluations, Miss Cleo. Yay!
That was a close race.
Is the club storing up the ribbons?
And nothing for Robert.
Apparently, Robert thinks
I
he's
haven't-
number one.
I haven't seen my ribbons in the mail.
Number one.
You're
You're number one.
Are the ribbons going out in the mail sometime?
So if you remind us that you want to have a ribbon, we'll give you a ribbon.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah. So,
We will send
remember,
Robert to
email it
hand
to you.
deliver your ribbon.
Maybe I can do some virtual badges. That'll be fun.
well, these
We'll
are
send,
posted.
we'll send it through Amazon. You get it in 15 minutes.
Yeah. This is all
Same day
recorded.
delivery.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think today was a great evening. We had a lot of fun, great speeches. And I want to just open this up. I don't have any announcements. I guess Robert kind of monopolized
Donna.
it last time.
Yeah, he did. It's 9 p.m. Okay, time to go.
So
I
let's
have
go ahead.
one more thing I wanted to share before we kind of close out. It's a little bit of Zoom etiquette for future meetings. If you, for any reason, need to step away from your computer or your phone, please turn off your camera. It can be very distracting, especially if it's pointing up at a fan or, you know, something else going on in your background. So whenever you have to step away, please turn off your camera so we don't have to look and see your empty chair for those of us who are easily distracted. That's the only thing I have to say. But
Okay, Sergeant in Arm.
Well, he's not. He's the
I know.
admin.
Robert, we didn't have to. We know.
Do we need to have
quartermaster, get it right.
David, do we need to have a